Garen applied direct pressure to his chest and tried to hide his injury. He thought he needed to go to the dojo and ask for Master's help. Ying I will have lunch at the dojo, so don't wait for me. I will take the groceries back home first, Garen said. Dojo again. Mom and Dad are home today, Ying said, disappointment etched on her face. Don't be upset, I heard they got a better job and we'll be able to spend more time together now. Garen patted his sister's head and smiled. He asked Master to move his parents to a better position, and it seemed as if Master had already done it. Garen's uncle could do something like this easily, but for some reason he never helped his parents. He arrived home and put everything down, then went straight to the dojo. There were a lot of repairs going on in the city, and many infrastructures were being rebuilt. Garen could see workers and bullock cars that carried materials everywhere. The downtown area had become messy, no longer as clean as before. He kept thinking about the 3 people he met earlier, while quickly walking down the street, and just felt that something was not right. If the invisible force field was the talent the old man talked about before, the key to all the questions would be the book he asked me to read that day. Garen thought he finally found a clue. After watching me read the book, the old man looked disappointed and said I was not talented. I've not seen that book since. It may contain the answers to all my questions. Garen slowed down a bit. He saw a pancake stand moving towards him after turning at a corner. The owner of the stand smiled and handed him a small piece of paper before passing. Garen stopped for a second and looked at the piece of paper. A golden hoop was drawn on it, and there was a sentence written below the graph, 28 3-Stone Bridge, Willow Street. Urgent. Garen put the paper into his pocket and took a deep breath. He then turned back and crossed the street. East of the Weishan, a yellow river slowly ran across the city area, and it looked like a wide yellow ribbon dividing the city in half. But it was a dirty one. There were many square-shaped light yellow houses on both sides of the river. Some of them were tall and some short. They looked like a bunch of unorganized blocks. Sometimes, people in the houses could be seen through the windows. There were many dark yellow stone bridges built over the river. Many pedestrians and cars were going across them. There was a silver-black bust standing in the middle of one bridge that was far from the downtown area. The bust with its stand was about 3 meters tall, and it was a man with a mustache surrounded by flowers. There was a bronze introduction panel in front of the bust, and a man in check sweater was standing beside it. The man was about 30 or 40 years old. He had brown eyes and an aquiline nose. With his short gray hair, he looked ruthless. A strong young man with short purple hair appeared on the left side of the bridge and slowly walking toward the bronze panel. He was wearing a black sweatshirt. Though the shirt was large, it could barely hide his muscles. The sunlight was not strong, but the young man's arms still looked shiny. Master 9. Garen heard the voice and looked at the man's aquiline nose. The man revealed a golden earring he was holding with his right hand. 9. Garen scrunched his eyebrows and stared at the man. He then realized he just took over position of number 9. What's the matter? He asked. Master 6 was checking the retrieved bodies, and he thought you would be interested in the results. He asked me to inform you about them, the man answered respectfully. His voice was low, just enough for Garen to hear him. The bodies, lead the way. Garen's expression changed, and he said with a deep tone. Sure, please follow me. They went across the bridge and left the downtown area. There were many ox carts and carriages on the road. Garen barely saw any cars around, just ox feces by the roadside from time to time. They crossed 2 streets and walked into a narrow path beside a small hill. On the other side, there was a black wall separating the living area from the path. The two had already left the city area, and Garen could hear insects making noises in the bushes on the side. He followed the man with an aquiline nose and kept checking the surroundings. Quack, quack. Garen saw several white feathered ducks crossing the path after turning a corner. An old farmer with a straw hat was guiding them with a branch. He looked relaxed. Garen and the man went around the procession and kept advancing. They saw an empty ground by the end of the path, and behind the empty ground, there was a small building that was surrounded by green trees. The sunlight was blocked by the trees, and the building was covered in shadows. That's it. The man stopped by the entrance of the building. This is one of our bases in Weishan. Please go to the 2nd floor. The other masters are waiting for you there. Garen looked at him but did not say anything and just entered the building. A lady with black hair walked out of one of the rooms on the second floor. She looked sexy dressed in a tight leather suit. The lady had a ponytail, and was tall and slim. Her eyes were dark purple, and they caught Garen's attention. The lady was pretty, but she seemed hard to approach. She saw Garen going upstairs and walked back into the room without saying anything. He felt a bit speechless. Number 10 is here too. I guess she knows who I am. Garen shook his head and kept moving. There was a strong man standing by the entrance to the second floor. This way, please. According to the rules, please put on your earring, the strong man told Garen. Garen nodded and took the golden earring out of his pocket. He hesitated for a second, rubbing his earlobe. He decided to just put it on his left little finger, turned the number side up, and entered the room on the right. It was the only room on the right side of the second floor. It was big with a rectangle table, 2 bookshelves, and several high-backed chairs. All of the furniture were made of some red wood. Garen could smell its light fragrance. A man and a lady were standing in front of the bookshelves. The lady was number 10, while the man was blonde and had only one eye. They were talking about something. Number 6 and a pale man with a black cape were playing cards on the table. You're here, we can start. Number 6 stood up and laughed. He put down his cards. Sorry, number 8, I win again. Bullshit. Number 8 cursed. He stood up and looked at Garen. You're a bit late, he said. Sorry, I am not familiar with the route, Garen replied, nodding to him. Number 8 had invited Garen to join the Golden Hoop, and he was the only one Garen was familiar with. So he walked toward him and stood by his side. So, what's the matter? Garen asked. Number 6 smiled but did not answer the question. He clapped and said, Okay everyone. We're here to discuss the thing about the Silversilk Castle. There are 5 members from the top 10 here, and we haven't met like this in years. Cut the crap, number 10 barked, stopping number 6 from saying more unnecessary things. We're busy organizing our territories and aren't here to waste our time. Fine, number 6 scratched his head. First, I would like to introduce our new member, number 9. Clap. They clapped their hands several times but no one seemed to care. I still have no idea about the Golden Hoop. Garen shrugged. Take those, number 8 handed Garen a stack of paper. Leave them here after you finish reading. Someone will burn them. Garen grabbed several pages, and found out they contained the information about the Golden Hoop. He read through the information quickly, and learned some basic knowledge about the Gold Hoop. It was a large organization that sold antiques and jewelry. The top 10 members of the Golden Hoop created an information network that collected rumors about antiques. If there were requests for certain items, the organization would do whatever they needed to get them for the buyers. The top 10 members were responsible for the organization, but they were not ranked with the numbers, and they all had their own territories and networks. They joined the organization just to make more profit. Each of the top 10 members oversaw a certain task. Some needed to collect information about antiques while others needed to communicate with buyers. They could buy the antiques they wanted, or they could also get them from the others' territories. They would work together as long as there were benefits. Number 6 spoke again while Garen was still checking the information. Recently, our customers have shown a great interest in antiques of tragedy, and number 9 is an expert of antiques of tragedy. He will make sure the antiques we get are real. This is the main reason I agreed to take him in. Also, number 9 is a martial adept, and he is very close to rank E, number 8 added. We've already voted to confirm his membership and don't need to discuss it anymore. Number 6, get to the point. Fine, number 6 nodded and looked at number 10. She did not seem to care about any of this. We sometimes make changes to our top management, like number 7, who just joined us about 2 years ago. Well, let's get down to business. His face got serious. Just then, I had a fight with number 4 about that item from last time. You guys are well aware of that. So I was in a terrible mood and received the news from our dependents. They said people are targeting the relatives of the newly joined number 9. So I rushed there to unleash my anger. However, I didn't expect. What did you encounter? Number 8 asked in a lowered voice. I don't know. Number 6 shook his head. The other people focused their attention on him. He had obviously piqued their curiosity. Just be straightforward and tell us. What's with the hesitation? Number 10 grimly said. Number 7 beside her calmly glanced over with reticence. Number 6 closed his eyes and didn't respond right away. He was instead trying to remember what had happened. After 10 seconds, he gradually opened his mouth. I originally thought it was releasing the body hardening technique outside of the body, but later I realized it was impossible. He looked at everyone, and even Garen, who was looking through the documents, raised his head to focus on him. I would imagine it was psychokinesis. The guy the first encountered must be someone who possessed the power of psychokinesis from the legend. Psychokinesis. Number 8 rubbed his chin, pondering. You read way too many novels, Number 6. Number 10 sneered. I still have a business that I need to negotiate. If you're telling me something imaginary and fake, you'll have to excuse me for leaving. No, what he said is true, all of a sudden said the silent Number 7. I have seen psychokinesis before. The world they live in is completely separated from that of normal people. Just like martial adepts, they're light years ahead of ordinary people. Do you have any evidence? Unfortunately, no, Number 6 shrugged. There was a black tattoo on the back of the corpse's hand, but for some reason, it disappeared after death. It's gone. Garen put down the documents. Completely vanished, Number 6 confided. I got someone to dissect the corpse but didn't manage to find anything useful. Psychokinesis is one thing I want to remind everyone to be careful of. If possible, collect some intelligence in this area. Number 9, if you have any information, try your best to notify everyone since it originates from you. You also have to be aware that they are strong, at least the person I met was powerful. Garen nodded. The second thing, it's the white rock eye we have. It already has 5 bidders. Currently, 56 million is the highest price. The item was acquired through our back office, and the front office has nothing to do with it. Therefore, the money will be only divided among the people that contributed, Number 6 explained. The appraisal will be up to Number 9. This thing could count as an antique of tragedy, and it is said that anyone who keeps the antique in possession for over 2 months would be overwhelmed with diseases and pain. The Book of Silence. I don't know if it is true or not. Joyous in his mind, Garen immediately nodded in agreement. My appraisal is not a problem. He looked at some information and became aware of the difference between the front and the back office of the Golden Loop. The front office consisted of the first 5 numbers, whereas the back office were the latter 5 numbers. The two sides never got on friendly terms since the relationship had always been strained. That's good. Now we divide up the money. Number 8 is the pivotal contributor this time and takes home 80%. Number 10 receives 10%. Number 9 and I will each take 5%. Us 4 will divide the money. Number 7 will take 100,000 from Number 8 that received the most as tradition. Is everyone okay with this? Yes, Number 8 said. Number 9 contributed a major amount as well and should be rewarded accordingly. If it were not for him, I wouldn't have been able to acquire the item. I'll split 1/3 of my share with him. It's okay, 5% is more than enough. Garen smiled. If it can be sold for 50 million, I can receive 2 million. It is enough. There is no rush. The money is not as simple as it looks. Number 6 gestured. As a newly joined member, you have to prove your worth to the group. Appraisal alone is not enough to assume the position as Number 9. Everyone must complete a mission when they join which would be beneficial to the organization. It is your turn now. Garen slightly raised his eyebrows. Is this an examination? What kind of mission? We don't know yet, but next time when trouble arrives, you alone will have to take care of the problem. This is to prove your ability to handle difficult situations alone as part of the top 10 golden loops. Number 6 shrugged. Unbothered, Garen nodded. This is not a problem. Also, about those psychokinetic individuals, are there any leads? Regarding their origin, the only thing we know is that it's connected to the explosion case in a rural area, as well as the Dolphin Antique Store's owner's mysterious disappearance along with the 3 bodies found in the backyard. I killed those 3 people, Garen interrupted him. Can you help me look for Old Man Gregor's information? His store should be recorded within certain bureaus. At least his personal information. Let me try. Number 10 is in charge of Weishan area. You can go talk to her about it. Number 6 mischievously smiled at Garen. Garen was speechless. He had just injured and almost accidentally killed Number 10. It would be senseless to ask her for help now. If there are any leads, please let me know as soon as possible. No problem. Number 8 patted Garen's shoulder. Don't be too sad. No need to be sad. I'll eventually find him, And kill him. Garen said calmly. After the money was split, the white rock eye fell into the hands of Garen to determine its authenticity within 3 weeks. He took it and left the small cabin while everyone else dispersed separately as well. Only number 10 stayed behind. It was her place after all. Bang, 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 bang. The black sandbag flew higher and higher. Garen forcefully smashed the sandbag with all his might, one punch after another. The metal sand inside the sandbag concaved from the excessive force. His upper body was exposed, and the sweat dropped down like rainfall. He was only wearing black shorts, and the contracting and expanding muscles gave a sturdy but flexible vibe. From a martial adept's perspective, you're doing quite well. In the training hall behind his back, Fei Beiyun took a white-colored chair and sat down firmly. He had a cup of hot tea in his hand and occasionally took a sip or two. White Cloud secret arts, combat techniques, explosive fist arts. You have learned it all. The next step is to take it to real combat. You must fuse all the techniques into particular moves and fully unleash your potential. This is what you need to do. In a few days, you'll go with me to a conference and see the skill level of other martial adepts, Fei Beiyun said in a calm and slow voice. Yes, Master, Garen answered respectfully, stopping his training. There is nothing wrong with hiding your power. It's just that if you don't usually fight at your limit, your performance would be below expectations in a critical battle. Although hiding your power would make your opponent underestimate you, there are always accidents. You can never completely hide. Fei Beiyun took another sip of the tea. Everyone at the conference will be martial adepts. You'll have to remember that you can't be arrogant just because you have some achievements. The White Cloud Gate is nothing within the martial adept circle. There are far stronger opponents out there. Don't underestimate anyone because of your mastery in explosive fist arts. Don't worry, Master. I know where my limit is. Garen nodded in agreement. After witnessing golden loops, martial adepts as well as the existence of psychokinesis, his original thoughts of being considered a strong martial adept after a couple of breakthroughs were shattered. His opponents were stronger than ever, and no one was weak. This point alone was enough to eradicate his arrogance. As long as you understand. Now go back and pack a few things. We'll leave the day after tomorrow. Remember to let your family know. Fei Beiyun smiled, pleased. He was extremely satisfied by this latest disciple. As long as he didn't betray the White Cloud Gate, everything else would be irrelevant. His potential and power were impeccable even compared to Farik. It was unbelievable that he managed to reach the second level of explosive fist arts in just 1 year time. I'll only bring you this time. I've brought your senior brother and sisters separately before. This is the opportunity for you to expand your understanding of the martial adept world. There will be plenty of opportunities to fight, and you must be prepared for them. Also, you'll be representing the White Cloud Gate as the core disciple. You have to be cautious of your image. I'll be leading. Garen was surprised. Master, how many people are going this time? Including you, a total of 5 people. The other 4 are selected based on their potential. They are your junior brothers and sisters. You'll have to take care of them. Fei Beiyun smiled. Okay. Garen was slightly troubled as he had a lot of things that he needed to figure out, which meant he wasn't in the mood to take care of other people. It had been several months since he met with the Golden Loop. He had to return the Rock Eye within 3 weeks. He had also saved up 4 attribute points. The Black Jade Disc was completely out of potential now. Garen tried to absorb the potential from the bronze cross emblems at the Silversilk Castle that he got from Dale Quicksilver. However, the absorbing speed was too slow. It was questionable whether he could increase 1 attribute point in a year's time. Therefore, he only had 4 remaining attribute points left, and he was faced with the situation where he had ran out of potential that could be absorbed. During this time, he used Manuelton Corporation and the Golden Loop to collect antiques of tragedy, except that none could provide the potential at a fast enough pace. He started to suspect that the problem came from himself. Potential generated attribute points, therefore, when he was weak, it was easy to absorb a large amount of potential from any antique of tragedy. But now, the potential he was absorbing was becoming negligible. A large factor in this could be that he was stronger compared to before, thus, to generate an attribute point a significantly larger amount of potential was required. Therefore, normal antiques of tragedy could not sustain his needs. A stream of water was ample to fill a cup, but for a jug, it would be minuscule. That was what Garen deduced. The stronger his body was, the higher amount of energy would be required. It would only be natural this way. There were no more sources of potential, as well as no leads to the old man's death. It all made Garen impatient. Adding to it the inheritance of his uncle's business and the trouble caused by the teens from Lambrath's mom's side of the family, Garen was becoming even more frustrated. He watched Fei Baiyun stroll out of the practice hall. He glanced at the attributes below his vision. Strength 2.43. Agility 1.21. Vitality 1.88. Intelligence 1.51. Potential 498%. White Cloud Secret Arts. Mastery, Level 4. Explosive Fist Arts, Intermediate. White Cloud Combat Arts, Intermediate. All 4 attributes have increased by 0.01. This is too slow. He let out a breath. The daily exercises and routines are no longer useful for me. Adding attribute points is probably more helpful. He gazed at strength for 3 seconds, and it gradually changed. It increased from 2.43 to 2.63. I can add it again. Overjoyed by the finding, Garen suddenly realized something was different. Why did only increase by 0.2? He carefully examined the other attributes. Only strength had increased by 0.2 while the others hadn't changed. What's happening? He took a deep breath. I may have mistaken the original stats. He didn't think too much about it and let his vision fall on explosive fist arts. This was the move he was most dependent on. When he fought with number 10 and later the psychokinetics, it was because of the absolute vibration and defense from this move that he had won. The explosive fist arts not only increased defense but also the effectiveness of attacks. But after he gazed at it for a while, a few red symbols appeared gradually below the attributes bar as if explaining something. Garen glanced at it, and his facial expression suddenly changed. Attribute explanations. After the special ability collected information regarding the arts, 1 attribute point could be used to increase the level of beginner-level skills. 2 could increase intermediate skills, while advanced skills required 5 attribute points. The advanced criteria had to be met before the skill could be leveled up. The unavailability of leveling could be a result of lacking information. Absorbing the same type of attribute over a period would develop resistance within the body. The effect on body condition would decrease. The rows of the symbols were easy to understand for Garen. No wonder attribute points would have less of an impact on the body's condition. I felt something was odd. It was okay in the beginning, but as soon as the ratio changed, the actual attributes decreased, just that I didn't notice. After the prolonged period, the decrease became significant enough. But it was only after it became as large as 0.1 that I noticed it. His vision focused on the explosive fist arts. A symbol gradually appeared behind this skill, which was the missing criteria to level up this skill. 5 attribute points. Garen frowned. The last time the explosive fist arts leveled up was because of the body quenching pill along with the attribute points. To increase the skill forcefully, it would require 5 points. He only had 3 points remaining. If I knew this, I wouldn't have added strength. He smashed the wall in regret. Only missing 2 points. I need to find a way. But I have to attend the conference in 2 days. The practicality of the explosive fist arts was remarkable. Garen spent over half of his effort on this skill. If he improved this fist art to a mastery comparable to his master's, his power would change significantly. If added with the fact that Garen's strength had already reached its limit, he couldn't imagine how powerful it would be if he achieved advanced mastery of the skill. Garen carried his clothes when he left the White Cloud Gate. He stood outside in front of the rows of cars. From a black car, Grace peeked her head out. Dale Quicksilver has new information. Oh. Garen opened the car door and sat down beside Cynthia. He glanced at Cynthia who was chewing on something. What are you eating? It smells awful. Cynthia smirked as she spat something black out of the car window. Garen focused on Grace again. What's the new information? Grace looked at him through the reflective mirror as she said cautiously, after what happened at the Silversilk Castle, Dale Quicksilver and his companions left the province to Evania Province's Blue Gulf City. The case is closed for now. A few of the Golden Loop's middle managers were arrested. They also received a request for help from the police department. Do you know what exactly it is? I think it is because of Waishan City. The explosion case that night along with the murder at the Dolphin Antique Store. Pennington Street is where the high-end communities are located, which makes this a bit trickier. An incident on this scale not only shocked the governor's office, it even angered the officers on the national level. So Dale Quicksilver and other famous detectives received an invitation to investigate this case. Garen frowned slightly. There are plenty of cases at Waishan City, and murders are not that uncommon. Why did this one case trigger such a drastic response? There are many cases of homeless men that died in the alleys, but those don't seem to bother them at all. Cynthia, who sat beside him, began to giggle. You don't understand. The primary reason is that of the Silver Silk Castle. The Golden Loops are too ruthless and cocky as they had the audacity to confront the police department. They even killed multiple police officers, which caused a sequence of reactions. An investigation team was created to deal specifically with this case. The antique store murder had also happened during this sensitive period, which stomped on the dignity of the provincial police department. It is no wonder then that they are furious over this. They're certainly playing with fire. However, the newspapers and magazines are more than happy. In this case, the place Dale Quicksilver went to is related to the antique store murder. Gloom cast on Garen's face immediately. Yes, based on the information from the police department in the other province, a similar murder had happened in a small town nearby. There an aged lady who also owned an antique store had went missing. It is rumored that she was connected with the old man from the Dolphin Antique Store. They were communicating through mail, Grace explained. Exchanging letters. Garen's expression tensed. Grace, I need to attend a martial arts conference in 2 days with my master. I need you to keep an eye on information from Dale Quicksilver. No problem. What about me? With an uninterested expression, Cynthia leaned over. Bring me with you, I can warm the bed for you. She pouted with her pink lips and smiled gracefully. I'm going to my master. You're in charge of protecting my family, is that okay? Garen pushed her away as he had no energy left to waste time on these things. Woo, this is too heartless. This is the first time I am so proactive. Cynthia pretended to rub her eyes as if her feelings were hurt. Okay, that's enough. Garen was speechless. Dale Quicksilver's ability to trace things is impeccable. Maybe he will find something I need. You have to keep a close eye on him. Okay. 2 days later. Woo. With a deafening screech of a train horn, a dark red wooden train emitting black smoke gradually came to a halt at a terminal at Waishan City. Around 10 people were scattered across the rectangular platform beside the train track. There were males and females, both young and old people. The majority of them carried a suitcase and covered themselves from head to toe with their jackets and trenchcoats. When the train stopped, the conductor forcefully pushed open the door. Time to get on the train. The white-bearded train conductor yelled. Passengers at the 9th compartment, get on the train. This is the train headed to Gila, don't get on the wrong train. The passengers waiting for the train began to board in a line. Among them, there was a young and an old man that carried a red leather suitcase. They both wore black wool coats along with black cap. They were Fei Baiyun and Garen of the White Cloud Gate. They blended in among the passengers. Garen followed behind his master. He passed the white ticket to the conductor before grabbing the red leather suitcase and stepping onto the train. At the point of entrance, the left side was a sealed train compartment, while the right was the exit. Why are you standing there? Our seats are inside, hurry up and don't block anyone. Fei Baiyun turned his head. Oh, Garen was distracted by the fact that it was his first time seeing such an ancient train, which slowed his actions. He hastened his steps to follow his master. The compartment was a dark red color. The grains of wood were exposed inside the compartment. The entire train was made of this particular timber. 4 seats were divided into 2 rows, just like the individual rectangles that were scattered along the 2 sides of the train. The middle was a walkway. The compartment was hardly filled with people. The master and student passed 5 rows of seats before finally stopping at the left side in the middle of the compartment. There were already 2 people that sat there. A male and a female in their teens, and they were falling asleep. The 2 of them had certainly put some thought into how they dressed, as both wore matching white shirts and pants. Judging by their facial features, they were brother and sister. Their hair was also identical silver white. Do you want to sit on the outside or inside? Fei Baiyun glanced at the 2 people and pointed toward the seats. I'll sit on the inside, Garen said without hesitation and took the seat. Fei Baiyun smiled and didn't say anything as he slowly sat down. The 2 teens across them heard their voices and slightly opened their eyes. They kept their silence and then fell asleep in the same position. Sitting, Garen carefully examined the two people across from him. He noticed that the girl's hands were covered with calluses and had short fingernails. They looked rough and coarse. Teacher, how long is this train ride going to take? Not long, about 3 days. Fei Beiyun took off his hat and tried to pat away the dust. 3 days. Garen let out a light breath. He stored the suitcases one by one underneath the chair before leaning against the window without saying a word. The death of the old man, the dispute between the Golden Hoop and Dale Quicksilver, and the mysterious enemy who had used telekinesis had been attracted because of the old man. These matters appeared one after another, causing Garen to be unable to settle down recently to practice his combat techniques. Compared to these matters, the inheritance issue on his uncle's side, the exchange gathering between dojos, and meeting the chairman of Manuelton Corporation were just small matters. The thing that Garen currently wanted to do the most was finding the true murderer of the old man, and at the same time, the ones who threatened his family. Unfortunately, the telekinesis users who appeared to stop him did not leave any clues. Now, he could only count on Dale Quicksilver's side to find out more about them. Are you still thinking about that matter? Fei Beiyun whispered beside him, don't think too much about it. From now on, you need to adjust your condition. This exchange gathering is not just an opportunity for you to gain experience, but also a chance for you to know your ranking. My ranking, Garen nodded, just as well, I also want to know what level 1 I'm currently at. Woo. The train whistled once more, and the sound of the wheels moving against the tracks gradually rang out. As the rhythm started to increase in tempo, the train carriage gradually moved forward with an increasing speed. The train carriage was also slightly livelier after some passengers got on. Garen recalled the data that his master gave him the day before. They were going to Gila City, one of the famous exchange gathering spots for martial adepts within their province and its surrounding provinces. This exchange gathering was conducted by a local secret martial arts sect, the Celestial Circle Gate. It was also one of the 3 strongest clans in the Confederation. More importantly, the Celestial Circle Gate had an influential position within the northern part of the Confederation. The main reason they hosted the exchange gathering was not just for creating an opportunity for interaction between disciples, but to establish a ranking between each sect. And during the previous exchange gatherings, White Cloud Gate's ranking within the secret martial art world was number 17. The two of them were going there earlier to reserve a strategic position during the exchange gathering. Otherwise, if they went late, the students from the dojo might not even have a place to stay. According to the data, White Cloud Gate was within the ordinary martial arts world. However, it was only an unremarkable sect within secret martial arts sects that truly possessed ancient inheritance. The Mammoth Secret Technique was the foundation of White Cloud Gate. The other techniques, White Cloud Combat Arts, Explosive Fist Arts, or the Fundamental Wrestling Techniques, were all just simplified versions of this secret martial art. It was the most powerful martial art within the entire sect. However, within the entire secret martial art world, there were many sects with similar secret martial arts. This type of secret martial art was actually just a fundamental martial art for tempering the body. The training requirements were strict, the training speed was extremely slow, and the external prerequisites required were troublesome. It was only considered third-rate within the secret martial art world. As a result, White Cloud Gate was only considered a third-rate sect within the secret martial art. Garen recalled the exhortation from his master on the previous day. When we get there, you need to remember to listen more, watch more, speak less, and create less trouble. Our White Cloud Gate is situated in a remote location, and we're still quite powerful locally. However, we're only considered insignificant outside, so we can't rashly get into a dispute with others. Of course, there are many sects like us in the exchange gathering, so there's no need for you to draw back when you have to display your strength. We might not be able to win against martial adepts from powerful sects, but we can still compete for the ranking against small sects. For some reason, after recalling this, Garen could not help but think about his senior sister, Rosetta. Garen looked toward his master beside him. Master, what happened when senior sister came with you previously? Rosetta. Fei Beiyun was originally recuperating while shutting his eyes. When he heard Garen's question, he slightly opened his eyes. She was still young when she went with me, around the age of 17 or 18 years old. At that time, her foundation was firm, but her talent was ordinary, and I had no intention of teaching her true martial arts. However, Rosetta completely changed after she returned from the exchange gathering and became reticent. Her personality began to change as well, and her talent suddenly improved. In the end, I decided to impart true martial arts to her. It was really strange, but my guess is that she probably received some sort of stimulus during the exchange gathering. Then she started to truly work hard after she went back and exhibited her true talent. Fei Beiyun patted Garen's shoulder. You're different, your talent is much better. You'll definitely receive a huge improvement if I hand the White Cloud Gate's secret martial art to you. This is the true foundation of our White Cloud Gate. I will definitely not let you down. Garen heavily nodded his head. However, he still felt that his senior sister had a weird personality. She always acted mysteriously and was difficult to locate. She would appear from time to time, but no one would not be able to find her when they wanted to look for her. Fei Beiyun thought for a while and took out a white piece of paper from one of the interior pockets in his black overcoat. The paper was folded into a small square. He carefully handed the squarish paper to Garen. Since your explosive fist arts has already reached the level of minor achievement, you've also fulfilled the basic requirement of practicing the secret martial art. This is the chant. Once you've memorized it, swallow the paper. This is the true key to the mammoth secret technique and must not be divulged to others. Receiving the piece of paper, Garen did not expect his master to give something so important to him on a train. Practice it on a train. Should I really do that? He found it slightly unbelievable. Shouldn't I find a safe and quiet environment? There's no reason why you shouldn't. Fei Beiyun chuckled. Various requirements are needed in order for this to work. This piece of paper was specifically soaked in medication. If other people were to practice the chant written on it, they would only become handicapped. Without a sufficiently strong explosive fist arts as the foundation, it's all pointless. Immediately after, he bitterly laughed again. Actually, our martial art is nothing profound in the eyes of other sects. A lot of the larger sects probably have something similar, and the effects would only be much stronger. Only we would act so carefully and think that it is important. Garen nodded and was slightly able to understand his master's helplessness and sadness. He looked toward the young people in front and found that they were still sleeping. That was when he softly opened up the paper in his hands. There was only a line of words written on the white piece of paper. It was a revision of the utilization method of the second level of explosive fist arts, the vibration technique. After the revision and combined with White Cloud's secret arts, a fundamental change would appear in the body. That was the so-called essence of the mammoth secret technique. It's that simple. Garen blankly stared at the line of words. He was wondering how difficult and complicated secret it would be. It's that simple, Fei Beiyun replied. Eat it. Garen was speechless. He looked at the paper once more, then crumbled it into a ball and directly threw it into his mouth. The ball of paper had a salty and astringent taste and was slightly bitter as well. After chewing it a few times, he swallowed it along with his saliva. Garen smacked his lips. Just when he was about to speak, Garen suddenly discovered the skill pane at the bottom of his field of vision had suddenly changed. White Cloud's secret arts and explosive fist arts were gradually blurring. The two skills immediately disappeared, and a new skill gradually appeared. There was a mysterious symbol behind that provided an explanation. Mammoth secret technique greatly increases the toughness of skin and greatly increases explosive force. It is a strength-type secret martial art that emulates mammoths. There are 2 levels in total: White Elephant, Mammoth. Currently, the state indicated behind the skill was White Elephant level. There's only 2 levels. Garen was startled. As the true secret technique of White Cloud Gate, there shouldn't only be 2 levels. Your feelings are correct. There are only 2 levels. This is the true inheritance of White Cloud Gate. To put it bluntly, there's a lot of things that are only simple secrets. However, these secrets needed countless trials and errors to finally obtain the best resultant combination. Fei Beiyun sighed and softly explained, actually, explosive fist arts does not have a so-called 3rd level. The 3rd level is actually the 1st level of mammoth secret technique. He patted Garen's shoulder. Properly familiarize yourself with it. This time, go and take a look at other martial adepts. Look at their levels and their strengths, and you'll realize your current level. Don't be disappointed when you fail. As long as you don't give up, there's a chance for you to make a comeback. Garen solemnly nodded as well. If even Fei Beiyun, who was far stronger than him, was saying such a thing, then it was quite evident that there would definitely be many powerful opponents at this exchange gathering. Even Garen was starting to get worried as well. For Master to exhort in such a serious manner, the opponents are evidently not just ordinarily powerful. I definitely need to be careful. Setting aside his distracting thoughts, Garen looked out of the train's window on his right. Empty yellow paddy fields continuously flitted across his field of vision. The harvested paddy fields were filled with numerous tiny black dots as if countless wooden sticks were inserted into the paddy fields. Within the center of the open fields, there were bundles of straws stacked into piles. Once in a while, farmers could also be seen transporting these piles of straws. The grayish-white sky had some dark clouds, and it seemed like it was about to rain. 2 swallows flew across the sky as one chased after the other. Garen felt his emotion was gradually calming down and once again looked toward his skill pane. I still have 3 attribute points. Let's see if I can forcefully increase this martial art. His line of sight landed on Mammoth's secret technique. 3 seconds later, Mammoth's secret technique slowly changed. It suddenly changed from white elephant to mammoth. It increased. Garen's heart skipped a beat, and he carefully observed the changes in his body. Strangely, he did not feel anything from his body. It definitely increased. Why isn't there any changes? He looked at his potential pain, and his attribute points had indeed decreased by 2. Could it be that it can still be increased? He looked at the Mammoth's secret technique and noticed that it did not turn into a gray color, which meant that it could still increase. There was a symbol floating behind it as well, indicating that 5 attribute points were needed to forcefully increase it. Mammoth's secret technique was actually just a crucial key that combined White Cloud's secret arts and explosive fist arts together. It was actually an overall harmonious adjustment to the body. This type of adjustment was very strange, and even Garen was not able to understand the theory behind it. However, it was evident that this adjustment had not reached its limit. With doubts in his mind, he looked toward Fei Beiyun sitting beside him. Master, does this martial art really have only 2 levels? What's next after these 2 levels? Is there a possibility of continuing to improve? I don't know. Fei Beiyun shook his head. However, reaching the master level of the mammoth level is already very troublesome. The glorious period of martial adepts is before the age of 25. After we reach 25 years old, our body's functions, spirit, and vitality all start to weaken, and we're unable to advance to the next level. Putting aside what's after mammoth level, no one in the older generations of our White Cloud Gate was unable to reach major achievement before the age of 25. So, there's a chance to reach higher levels by reaching master level before our spirit and vitality begin to deteriorate. Garen thought of something and continued. That's correct. The improvement of Mammoth's secret technique is very difficult, only your senior sister has a chance. 4 years ago, she was at the White Elephant level. Now, she has already reached the Mammoth level and is only 24 years old. She's our White Cloud Gate's greatest hope. When Fei Beiyun mentioned senior sister Rosetta, a smile subconsciously appeared on his face. Garen's heart skipped a beat. If his senior sister was only at the master level of secret martial art, would it mean that he was comparable with his senior sister right now? However, why aren't there any changes to my body after combining them? In any case, I spent 2 attribute points. There should at least be ripples even if I threw it into the water. This was what he was most confused about. At that moment, the girl sitting across him opened her eyes and slowly woke up. She sleepily looked toward the master and disciple sitting across her, and friend Lily smiled toward them. Garen smiled back at her. Are you going to Gila City as well? The girl whispered. That's right, are you heading there as well? Garen replied. That's right, why are you going there? The girl brushed away her hair that was covering the side of her face. With your age, are you going there to enroll? Garen did not know how to respond. Could he just tell her that he was going to participate in a martial arts exchange gathering? It was actually forbidden to divulge the martial arts exchange gathering to outsiders since it was confidential. Seeing that he did not reply, the girl smiled and assumed that her guess was right. From the looks of it, she probably assumed that Garen was a new student being sent to school for enrollment by his father. What about you? Are you going to Gila for a vacation? Garen asked as his gaze slightly sized up the girl. With long silvery hair coming down from her shoulders, the girl wore a white lace dress and gave off the aura of a magnanimous and refined lady. Her skin was fair and tender, like it was coated with a layer of white powder. It was fine and smooth to the point where there were almost no imperfections. The girl was like a young lady who went for an outing and gave off a very cultured and pure feeling. Even though she was not very pretty, this sort of quiet and graceful aura was abnormally rare. Garen was reminded of Felicity, who had just left Weishan a while ago. She was different from the girl in front of him. If you judged her from her appearance, you would think that she was a haughty, dazzling, and beautiful young lady. However, he was slightly baffled by the fact that the girl in front of him had coarse hands, which was completely inconsistent with her aura and the way she dressed. We're not going for a vacation. We're also going to enroll at the school. However, we're going there earlier to learn more about the local culture. The silver-haired girl smiled as she replied Garen's question. Garen nodded in acknowledgement. Where did you set off from? We started from Shining. Before you got on the train, we've been riding for over a day and a night. The girl covered her mouth and lightly yawned. Oh, I am so tired. Even though I've been sleeping for so long, I still feel very tired. If you've only been sitting like this, then it would definitely be tiring. When Garen saw her yawning, he felt a little sleepy as well. As the two of them had no other common topics to talk about, Garen turned his face over to look at the scenery outside of the window. A yellow beetle car was driving alongside the train at the same pace. The driver of the car was a man wearing an army uniform with aviator goggles on. He was glancing toward the train from time to time. That's the Navy uniform of the Confederation. From the badge on his chest, this man should be a lieutenant in the Navy. Navy of the Confederation. It was the first time Garen saw a regular military personnel of the Confederation, and he could not help but glance a few more times. The train gradually surpassed the soldier's car, and Garen was feeling slightly tired just from watching the scenery as well. He looked beside him at his master and discovered that Fei Beiyun was sleeping soundly with his head tilted to the side. Garen drowsily dozed off and slowly woke up after an undetermined amount of time. The sky outside of the window had already turned dark, and the interior of the train carriage was slightly noisy. In the middle of the aisle, an attendant was slowly passing by while pushing a food cart. It's time to eat. Within the train carriage, there was a sparse amount of passengers. Some of them were yawning, while some stood up to buy food, and there were others that took out their own food to eat. Garen even heard children's voice yelling in a dialect that he did not understand. The silver-haired boy sitting across of him had already woken, but he was not as friendly as the girl. He only faintly glanced at Garen and his master and did not converse with them. His master, Fei Beiyun, was taking out a small sack that contained some cakes, bread, and 2 bottles of tea. This is dinner. Take it yourself. Garen speechlessly looked at the cakes and bread that was crumpled together and almost could not differentiate between the two. He was completely without any appetite as he looked at it. Master, there's no reason for this. It's not like we don't have money. What do you know? Fei Beiyun glared at him. This is something that someone had kindly made for me. It's not about the money. As he spoke, he seemed to remember something, and a slight redness faintly appeared on his face. Garen had a slight urge to puke. Looking at an old man foolishly smiling while blushing was indeed a little disgusting. However, he still took a lump of cake that looked like bread and a bottle of black tea and placed them on his lap. Master's second spring. He already knew who made the food. It was obviously Master's lover. He lowered his head and looked at the thing in his hand. Garen was still hungry a while ago but no longer had any appetite. The silver-haired siblings sitting across of them were currently eating exquisite-looking buttery apple cakes while drinking coffee from a porcelain cup. The redwood lunchbox contained all kinds of pastries that were neatly arranged. There were red cherries, baked banana chips, pink cream, light yellow sponge cake, and a few pieces of vegetables as decoration. Just based on the appearance, it was far superior to the thing in his hand. As Garen looked at the lump in his hand once more, his appetite dwindled even more. Fei Beiyun, the owner of a gigantic dojo that earned tens of millions per year, was currently eating such a wretched meal on the train. Garen could not help but disdainfully look toward his master sitting beside him. He was stunned when he realized that his master had already finished the thing in his hands within a few bites and seemed to be choking as he guzzled the bottle of black tea. As Garen looked at the soft and mud-like thing in his hand once more, he firmly decided not to eat it. He lifted up the bottle of black tea and drank a mouthful. Fortunately, The black tea was sweet since sugar was added and his hunger was satiated after drinking it. The only problem was that he had no idea how long that would last. The siblings sitting across of them saw the scene and could not help but smile. Even the silver-haired boy was unable to continue pretending to be cold. If you don't mind, there's still some pastries in my lunchbox. Please try some, the silver-haired girl softly said to Garen. How could I do that? Garen was originally planning to sneak out and buy food with his own money, but he was immediately tempted when the girl pushed the lunchbox over and smelled the rich buttery aroma drifting out. They only ate half of the contents of the lunchbox, while the other half of the exquisite pastries were left untouched. The exterior of the pastries was attentively wrapped with a layer of plastic paper, so he could directly pick them up with his hands and eat. It looked clean and hygienic. It's okay, as long as you don't mind. I can tell that you forgot to prepare your own food, the girl gently smiled and said. Garen sneaked a glance at his master. Since it's the kind intention of others, just eat it. Fei Beiyun speechlessly slapped Garen on the head. When he looked at the exquisite pastries within the lunchbox and compared it with what he ate just now, he was feeling slightly imbalanced in his mind. Thank you so much. Garen gave a hollow laugh and received the lunchbox. He lightly lifted up an almond cake and took a bite. It tasted very aromatic and had a very fluffy texture. There was also a trace of almond flavor mixed inside. The pastries within the lunchbox that were as big as his fist were eaten by Garen within a few bites and were quickly finished. He was originally prepared to hand one over to his master, but Fei Beiyun was obviously embarrassed about eating something from a younger generation and benefited Garen. He managed to finish all of the pastries in the lunchbox within 10 minutes. The siblings sitting across him were dumbfounded as they watched him. It's much more delicious than what they sell on the train. Thank you very much. Garen placed the lunchbox on the small rectangular table between the seats and gently pushed it back. Sorry, I couldn't stop after I started eating. He was already very hungry, and the pastries inside the lunchbox were indeed very delicious. It was the first time Garen had tasted pastries that were this delicious, and they were much better than the ones sold outside. Is it really that delicious? A smile appeared on the girl's face. They're very delicious. Garen nodded. They're so much better than the ones being sold outside. Could you tell me where you got them? I'll definitely patronize the store next time. It's good that you like it. The girl was obviously very happy as she lowered her head in embarrassment and said, I didn't buy them. I made them myself. The silver-haired boy sitting next to her was pouting as he muttered, what's so delicious about it? Is there a need to exaggerate so much? Really? You actually made them yourself? Garen was slightly surprised. How remarkable. With this kind of skill, you can open your own store. You're kidding. The girl was slightly embarrassed after being praised. The boy sitting next to her immediately rolled his eyes. You think that it's delicious when it's only at this level? What a country bumpkin. He was in a bad mood as he looked at the muscular and tall young man sitting across of him. Even though there was not much of a difference in their age, there was a sharp contrast when they sat together as the other party was at least twice as muscular as him. Also, the moment he got on the train, he was looking around like he had never been on a train before. When he was eating just now, he was eating so fast that it seemed like he had never eaten anything for over 10 years. On the other hand, Garen and the girl were vigorously chatting. The two of them had already changed topics from pastry tips to the books they liked and their topics were endless. Next to them, Fei Beiyun and the silver-haired boy were bored and began to doze off once more. With nothing to do on the train, they could only take a nap. 2 days later. Gila City train station. As a screeching whistle rang out, the mahogany train gradually came to a stop. With a loud bang, a conductor vigorously pulled open the door of the train carriage. Passengers bound for Gila City, it's time to get off. Within the train carriage. It's time to get off. Fei Beiyun patted Garen on the arm and was the first to stand. Garen quickly pulled out a red leather suitcase from underneath their seats and stood up. We're finally here. Are you getting off as well? He asked the silver-haired girl. The both of them had become quite familiar after chatting a few days. The sibling sitting across them had brought out a small, black leather suitcase as well. That's right. Actually, we went to Shining for a vacation, and we're going back home now. The silver-haired girl embarrassedly smiled. I already knew it. Garen laughed and said, while we were chatting the past 2 days, you were obviously more familiar with Gila and knew little about Shining. Alright, let's get off. Alright. The four of them left their seats and followed the sparse stream of passengers toward the exit. There were already several cars waiting near the train station. The silver-haired girl walked to a silver sedan and turned to look at Garen and Fei Beiyun and their huge luggage. She hesitated. Their luggage looks really heavy, so they must be new to this place. Should we give them a ride? The silver-haired boy opened the car's door and curled his lips. Up to you, but be honest with me, you seem to get along with those two guys from the small town. Do you have a crush on that lubber? Don't say that. The girl bluntly twisted the boy's ear. So what if they're from a small place? They seem to be quite well-mannered to me. And what crush are you talking about? Are you trying to embarrass your sister over some casual talk? They don't look like students checking in to me. They were hiding something from the way they talked, so they're probably just some countryside hillbillies here for work. These days a lot of people from the countryside come to the cities to do hard labor. The silver-haired boy frowned as he lightly pushed away his sister's hand. What's so interesting about talking to some guys from the countryside? You're just flattered by their compliments. The girl thought so as well, especially since the two men were powerfully built and had rough hands. They had to have done a lot of farming work, but she was intentionally leaving out the topic about their family and occupation. And it was obvious that they were trying to avoid talking about it as well. So what if they're farmers? What would you eat and drink without them? She pinched her brother hard again. She then turned to the two strangers. Where are you headed? Do you need a ride? I'm a local at Gila, and I could introduce you to our town. Garen and his master Fei Beiyun were both flattered. It was nice for the girl to offer, but they already had other plans. Fei Beiyun blinked at Garen, telling him to deal with his own trouble. He hadn't interfered with Garen's and the girl's small talk on the train. He could see she was well educated, although he didn't expect for this to happen. Garen was dragged out by his master and looked reluctant. Actually, it's fine, someone is coming to pick us up. But still, thank you very much for your offer. The girl did not expect they would reject her. She nodded back. Fine then, you guys take care. Goodbye. Farewell, maybe we'll see each other on a train again next time. Yeah, we might. The girl laughed and winking turned around and got back to the car. What happened? You got rejected? The silver-haired boy gloated. How do you know? I'm telling you, people like him have big egos. He won't accept help from a girl, especially a girl that he likes, the boy answered with confidence, sitting in the driver's seat. Did he say he has made plans and someone is picking him up? Guys who want to save face all do that. Even if he doesn't have a ride, he wouldn't want to disappoint his beauty. The girl speechlessly glanced at her brother and got into the car. Yeah, you are the all-knowing saint, all right. Most intelligent man on earth. And, I'm not a beauty, don't try to give me a tall hat. Now drive, we should get home and rest. I'm really tired after riding the train for so long. She laid back in the passenger seat, her expression revealing her exhaustion. The silver car slowly drove out of the train station, turned at the exit, and merged into the traffic outside. Garen turned his gaze from the silver car and looked at his master. What do we do now, master? We wait, Fei Beiyun said casually. The folks from the Celestial Circle Gate are coming to pick us up, so bring out your vigor and don't let our White Cloud Gate down. Even if we are a small sect, we're still the strongest in Waishan City. If we lose our cool, Waishan secret martial arts get disrespected as well. He looked at Garen. You're not only representing yourself now, but also thousands of disciples at the White Cloud Gate and the entire secret martial arts community at Waishan. Your senior brothers and sisters have already graduated, so technically, you are the eldest senior brother at the White Cloud Gate. Don't lose our White Cloud Gate's prestige. Yes, master, Garen answered sincerely. He vaguely understood his main goal on this trip. Fei Beiyun was treating him as the White Cloud Gate's next successor. He was treating him like a true heir to his mantle. Garen adjusted his body form and lifted his spirit. He waited at the station with his master. There were less and less passengers getting on and off at the aisle. Soon, 3 young men came out of the entrance. They had great body forms and wore different clothing. The one who walked in the front had a hard-edged aura around him. He had blonde hair and blue eyes, his expression cold. The blonde man approached at a fast pace and stopped in front of Fei Beiyun. The 3 of them bowed down and saluted. Is it Master Fei Beiyun from Waishan's White Cloud Gate? Yes, I am Fei Beiyun, and you must be Jaden. Last time I visited you were still an apprentice to your senior brother. But after all these years, you now take charge of things on your own. Fei Beiyun smiled and answered politely. You are exaggerating, sir, I wouldn't say I'm in charge. This way please, the driver is waiting for us at the exit, Jaden answered respectfully, lowering his head. Very well, lead the way. Fei Beiyun nodded, following Jaden and the other young men. Garen strolled along behind his master. A handsome young man behind Jaden took a step back to walk in parallel with him. Senior brother, your luggage looks heavy, let me help you carry it, he whispered and reached out with his hand, clawing toward Garen's wrist. His movement looked like he was trying to help, but in reality, his fingers were held together and fast like a thrusting sword, stabbing toward Garen's wrist silently. Garen's heart skipped a beat. He knew this was the celestial circle gate trying to probe his strength. Master must have noticed, but did not turn around. He knew this would happen. The opponent was too fast, there was no time to react. With a faint sound of impact, the young man's finger hit Garen's wrist. Both of them froze. So weak. Garen watched speechlessly as the young man blushed. Is this for real? A mosquito's sting could be stronger than this. The young man's face was completely red. He raised his head and gazed at Garen with astonishment. Both of them were speechless. Garen had no words. What should he say? Wow, I've heard so much about you, your finger strength is truly unmatched. He planned to say this before, but now if he said this, they would think he was sarcastically mocking them. So sorry. The young man's face turned white and red. He walked up to Jaden and his shoulders began to shudder. He was crying. Garen was out of words again. I was the one that got hit. Why are you crying? Fei Beiyun turned around and gave Garen a scolding stare. Garen looked back with an innocent expression. It's none of my business, master. I didn't even hit him back. Is standing still and taking the hit a bad thing to do now? Of course he couldn't say it out loud, but he was puzzled in his mind. Isn't this the celestial circle gate disciple too fragile? He looked at the young man again, suddenly seeing his long and slim legs together. There was no gap between them at all, and he had an amazing S-curve around his butt and waist. He looked again at the youngster's neck. The skin was white and smooth, and there was no Adam's apple. So he's a girl, Garen realized. Now I'm in trouble. Sure enough, Jaden turned around and looked at him. There was fire in his eyes. Garen straightened his face and back. He narrowed his eyes and stared back at Jaden, trying his best not to show any sign of weakness. The group soon exited the station, and there were 3 cars parked to the right of the exit. They looked luxurious, and there were even decorative silver linings on them. Master Fei, would you please ride in the first vehicle? I will accompany your esteemed disciple in the second. Jaden respectfully opened the door for Fei Beiyun. After settling down Master Fei, he came back to Garen. Please. Thank you. Garen nodded, ready to get into the car. Your luggage is a little too big. It's not easy to fit in there, so why don't you let me help? As Jaden's voice came, his right hand turned into a white shadow, jabbing toward Garen's wrist. This move was a lot faster than the girl's earlier, and it felt powerful too. His fingernails were emitting a sharp, knife-like aura. Jaden's eyes turned cold, his fingers split up, the white shadow turning into 5, and simultaneously grabbed toward Garen's wrist. There was no chance to dodge, Jaden's hand was like 5 steel knives slicing down. Garen's face turned cold, his wrist suddenly swelled, and his skin and muscles instantly turned blue and dark. He was ready to take the hit without dodging. Bang! After a thud, Jaden felt pain in his fingers. But he acted like nothing had happened and took his hand back. He sneered and sat in the front passenger seat. Garen looked down at his wrist. It had 5 distinct white marks. He felt a stingy pain as the attack had almost scratched his skin. Worthy of the Celestial Circle Gate's name, this should be fun. Even though he did not use the secret arts to strengthen his body, his resilience at a normal state was extremely strong already. Right now, the two were just trying each other out, and the first round was even. Looks like I have to keep working hard. A disciple from the Celestial Circle Gate is this strong. If I faced someone stronger from other places, Garen thought as he entered the car with his luggage. Drive, Jaden whispered to the driver. The luxurious silver-lined black cars slowly accelerated. There were even 2 police cars in front of them, whom the traffic avoided dodging in both directions. 3 cars formed a line and drove steadily forward.